Why walking before breakfast targets belly fat differently. There's a specific window each morning when your body's hormonal environment is uniquely positioned to burn stored fat, and most people unknowingly close that window before they even step outside. Understanding why requires a closer look at what belly fat actually is and how the body decides whether to burn it or protect it. Why belly fat is so stubborn. For many people over 40, fat doesn't distribute the way it once did. It accumulates around the waistline and stubbornly stays there even when weight is lost elsewhere, from the face, arms, or legs, while the midsection remains largely unchanged. This isn't random. Belly fat is not passive stored tissue. It's metabolically active and highly responsive to hormones, particularly insulin and cortisol. When insulin levels are elevated, the body is in storage mode. Fat cells are effectively locked, and the body burns whatever food energy is available rather than tapping into reserves. A morning walk after breakfast, even a light one, will burn the breakfast, not the belly fat. The cardiovascular benefits are real, but the fat stores remain untouched. What changes when you walk fasted? After a full night of sleep, the body has been without food for 8, 10, or even 12 hours. Insulin levels are at their lowest point of the entire day. Easily accessible blood sugar is depleted. When you walk in this state, the body searches for fuel, finds very little available, and is forced to turn to its stored fat reserves to power the muscles. A clinical study published in the British Journal of Nutrition examined this directly. 2 groups of active adults performed identical morning walks. Same pace, same duration, same effort. The only difference was that one group ate breakfast beforehand, while the other exercised on an empty stomach. The fasted group burned up to 20% more stored body fat during the session. The difference wasn't exercise intensity or duration, it was simply the hormonal environment created by the absence of food. The cortisol connection belly fat accumulation isn't driven by insulin alone. Chronic stress plays an equally significant role. Cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, has a well-documented relationship with abdominal fat storage. When cortisol stays persistently elevated, the body perceives an ongoing threat and responds by hoarding fat around the vital organs in the midsection. A moderate-paced morning walk is one of the most effective natural interventions for cortisol. The combination of rhythmic movement, fresh air, and morning quiet actively lowers circulating stress hormones, addressing one of the root causes of stubborn belly fat, not just the symptoms. How long you actually need to walk. A brief 10-minute stroll has real mental health value, but it isn't long enough to trigger a meaningful fat-burning response. In the early minutes of a walk, the body is still transitioning fuel sources and using whatever trace energy remains in the bloodstream. Fat oxidation deepens with sustained movement. The effective range is 30 to 45 minutes. The first 10 to 15 minutes serve as a warm-up and transition period. Once past that threshold, the body settles into a steady fat-burning rhythm. Maintaining that pace for another 20 to 30 minutes maximizes the use of stored fat as fuel. It's not about pushing hard. It's about staying in motion long enough for the metabolic shift to deepen. The one mistake that shuts it all down. Many people understand the concept of fasted exercise, but make a small exception before heading out. A splash of flavored creamer in their coffee, a single bite of fruit, a few crackers to take the edge off. It seems inconsequential. Metabolically, it isn't. The moment any sugar or carbohydrate enters the digestive system, insulin is released. The moment insulin enters the bloodstream, fat cells close. The body immediately abandons stored fat as a fuel source and switches to burning what was just consumed. The entire fasted advantage disappears. To preserve the fat-burning window, the rule is strict. Only 0-calorie beverages before the walk. Plain water, black coffee, or plain green tea, nothing else. The right intensity. It might seem logical that walking faster or harder would burn even more fat. In a fasted state, the opposite can be true. High-intensity exercise on an empty stomach can trigger a significant cortisol spike as the body responds to the lack of available energy. This can cause fatigue later in the day and undermine the hormonal benefits of the morning routine. The ideal pace is moderate and steady. brisk enough that breathing is slightly elevated and the heart rate is up, but comfortable enough to hold a conversation. This keeps the body in the aerobic fat-burning zone without triggering a stress response. The goal is sustained, controlled movement, not exertion. Supporting the process, hydration and coffee. After several hours of sleep, the body wakes up in a mildly dehydrated state. Dehydration impairs fat metabolism. The body simply cannot process and oxidize fat efficiently without adequate water. Drinking a large glass of water before stepping outside is a practical and meaningful step. Black coffee is also a useful pre-walk option for those who enjoy it. Caffeine acts as a mild metabolic stimulant, slightly raising the metabolic rate and encouraging the release of fatty acids into the bloodstream for use as fuel. The key is keeping it completely black. Any addition of milk, sugar, or flavoring triggers the insulin response and cancels out the benefit. The compounding effect over time. One fasted morning walk will not visibly reshape the midsection by the following day. That's not how this works, and expecting otherwise leads to disappointment. The real power of this habit lies in its cumulative effect. Done consistently, fasted morning walking trains the body to become more efficient at burning fat as a primary fuel source. Blood sugar regulation improves. Energy levels stabilize throughout the day. Over weeks and months, the waistline gradually responds. Clothes fit differently, the midsection softens, and the body's relationship with stored fat fundamentally shifts. No extreme workout regimens, no restrictive protocols, and no complicated morning routines are required. The formula is straightforward: a glass of water, comfortable shoes, and the consistency to walk out the door before eating breakfast. The biology handles the rest.